Presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, and Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Do business with someone you know, Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. All right, do us a favor, Facebook, like the page, YouTube, smash that like button. We'll say some good mornings. See what y'all got. Is it game day? It is a game day, LSU and ULM. I mean, the schedule says it's a game day, right? May not feel like it, but it is. Glenda Blanchard, good morning. Hey, Dad. Dad said, good morning, Matt, M-A-T-T-E. Like a matte finish on a helmet. Good morning, Dad. Chris Kohlmeyer, good morning from Baltimore. All right now. Truax, what's good, man? Landry Kirk, Richie Mercer, Jason Mobile, James Tyrone, Nashville, Scone. Patrick Cason, good morning. Ryan Amanda Guidry, Charlie Cavell. Hey, Dawn, good morning. Chris Maggio from ATX, what's good? Reagan Lee, best way to contact you. Probably text line. Messenger. I'm usually pretty responsive. So you'd email me, Matt at 1045ESPN.com. Let's see. Dane. Ooh, boy, this is going fast now. So what do y'all think, man? LSU, ULM, anybody super interested in the game? Anybody interested in how Max Johnson plays? Do we get to see Matt O'Dowd? Anybody interested in the game? Or y'all interested in more big picture college football stuff? Tell you what, the 11 a.m. window for college football today has got some good games, man. I do think Ohio State is going to paste Michigan State. I actually would lay the points. I think it's 19. I'd lay the points. I think Ohio State routes Michigan State today. I think, let's see, you've got Oklahoma today in that same window. I want to make sure I have it all right. Because there's 3 really good games at 11 a.m. Here we go. Oh, Wake Forest, Clemson. That's the other one. It's Wake Forest, Clemson. So Wake could win the Atlantic, and then Iowa State, Oklahoma. OU's a 3.5-point favorite, and I think Oklahoma wins and covers there as well. Big bounce back spot for OU with a lot on the line. All right. Oh, let me retweet. Let me tweet the Facebook, or excuse me, the YouTube link here as well. Although I am also probably guessing most of you are more talking about coaching search stuff, which is fine, but we can do that too. Well, there's not a lot new to say today. All right. Tim Gotro, Trivia Carter, Joey Vincent, Spurge, what's up? Brian Greer, Blake DeArmond. Matt, thanks for donating your time. Sure, Blake. Happy to do it, man. Thank you for donating your time and watching, because if y'all didn't watch, I wouldn't be here. So I'd just be talking to myself. So thank you. Two-way street. James Brew, good morning. Nicholas Cantrell, morning, Scone. Who we betting today? Really miss Scone Stradamus picks. Yeah, Nicholas, we had a hot run last year when I was playing that angle. The angle ultimately went cold, and maybe I'll try to crank it up again. But I do like if there were the games that I like best today, I do like Ohio State to win and cover. I think Ohio State not only beats Michigan but covers. I like Oklahoma to win and cover against Iowa State. I like Utah at home against Oregon today. I think they're a slight favorite. I do think Utah wins that game. Field goal favorite. I do like Utah in that game. If you want a If you want an underdog, I would give you South Carolina at home against Auburn. I would definitely take the 7.5, and I think South Carolina's got a chance to win that game outright. Yeah, there's some picks for you. All right, Sam Cosby, Matt, does the new coach pull a sting and helicopter in for the game tonight? I do not believe so, Sam. Although Lane Kiffin was in town last night for Episcopal against Newman to watch Arch Manning. Tim Godrow, whiskey and wine, going to be late one tonight. I see an afternoon nap and a pot of coffee in my future. Well, thanks for committing to being with us, Tim. I do appreciate that. But yes, I got pregame at 3 o'clock, so my afternoon nap probably won't happen. 8 o'clock kick. Yikes. Let's see. Blake, Bill O'Brien is Les Miles. Loves control, empowered, unwilling to evolve, put great offensive minds around him, ego-driven. Okay. Sean Hinderberger. King Monk. Is the $500 bet with Russ Mitchell still on? Yeah, we'll do that. So for those that missed it, Russ was inebriated and in a bar in London. And it was a bet to give $500 to Dreams Come True of Louisiana, great organization. And and I don't feel super bullish on this game. He was just he was inebriated on air and just threw this out there, and then of course it was for charity, so it wasn't going to back away. But it was South Carolina Auburn, and it was he took Auburn, I took South Carolina, and the loser will donate $500 to Dreams Come True Louisiana. So I was like, okay, that's fine. Hey Matt, why do Guarantee delete the 10-22 not push a Napier postgame video? Because there was a caller that got through and used an expletive. And that's not stuff that you really want to promote when you're regulated by the FCC. Trivia. Who's in the worst situation? LSU, Florida, or Texas? I would tell you Texas. It's been the longest since they've had success. Huey Miller, morning Matt. Just getting into bourbon. What are your thoughts on Blanton's? Got 3 bottles for $46 each. I don't know if you're lying to me, Huey. If you got 3 bottles of Blanton's for $46 each, you would set the internet on fire. So Blanton's, personally, okay. I like Blanton's. It is a good bourbon. It is also overrated. That doesn't mean it's not good. It is good, but people think like it's like teardrops of Jesus collected in a bottle. I mean, it's like people think Blanton's is the greatest thing in the world. I mean, I have Blanton's up here. It's but they've done a very smart thing. First of all, the juice is good. Second of all, the toppers are a horse galloping, and they spell out Blanton. So there's like a Blantons, so people try to collect them. So the juice is good, there's a collectability, and it's allocated, so it's hard to find. And it's affordable. So people like clamor over Blanton's. But it's not the best thing there is. But it's very good. If you got 3 bottles of Blanton's for $46 each, that's a major score. So congrats for that. Tommy Howard. South Carolina +7 against Auburn. I agree. Brian Greer. Heard Bud Kilmer's the top choice. 2 state titles, 22 district championships. Go Pack. Go Pack. Alex Barnes. Matt, the Penelope whiskey you recommended Wednesday's amazing. I went to Clandros. Tommy Howard took South Carolina money line. Sam Cosby will always have his best players in the field at Bryant. Oh, Bud Kilmer, yes. Matt Sharp. LSU has a change to go out and make signature hire. Chance, I guess that's supposed to be, sorry. Why they would hire Bill O'Brien. I don't think they're going to hire Bill O'Brien, by the way. But I've given you a lot of the reasons why it makes sense. And I think there's fans who... Bill O'Brien, why there's such a negative connotation there, I'm not exactly sure. Maybe because of how it ended in Houston or whatever. But I think there are fans that also ignore a lot of the positive stuff. I mean, I've rolled through it all. I mean, he He spent 10 years in college football, major college football, Georgia Tech and Maryland and places like that. Went to the Patriots, was the OC there under Belichick, worked with Tom Brady. It took over Penn State amid the worst possible situation. I mean, in 2012, he won National Coach of the Year because he got that team to 8-4. I mean, people forget how, they had bowl sanctions, Big Ten championship sanctions, scholarship reductions, and the players there were allowed to transfer, and a lot of them did. And he still won 8 games in 2012. I mean, it was remarkable, the fact that he had 2 winning seasons there. So much so that he got the Texans job. I think he was a terrible GM in Houston. He was a bad personnel manager, but he's a really good coach. He won the division 4 times. And now he's working under Saban. So he's worked for Belichick and Saban, worked with Tom Brady. He's been a major college head coach, been an NFL head coach. I mean, there's a lot there, blind resume, where you go, okay, it's a good candidate. I'm not telling you he's my choice. I'm not telling you that I think he'd win. Or I just, there's way more there that makes sense than I think a lot of fans are giving it credit to. Eric Wilderado, morning, Matt. We welcomed our son to the world earlier this week. He's yet to hear the HUD code jingle. Does this put my parenting into question? Well, wake him up. Here we go, Eric. Congrats on the birth of your son, by the way.
When you need a roof, call someone you know. Scone, Ontario. All you need is HUD code. Call HUD code roofing. 364-1007.
There you go, Eric. Welcome to the world, to the young Wilderado. Congrats to y'all. Hope all is doing great. What an awesome time. Look at that. Huey Miller found him at the Coast Guard Exchange in Staten Island. That's awesome, man. Great find. Great find. Wrapping batches, Blake DeYarman. How's Bill O'Brien cleaner of a higher off-field than Kiffin? I don't know what his off-the-field issues are. Does Bill O'Brien have off-the-field issues? Dane Bergeron wants to see how Max responds. Jason Mobile going to the game, but not super interested. Should be plenty of good seats to be had. Randy Dabdoob, everyone wanted to fire the DC after the Ole Miss game. Now want him as head coach. I don't think anybody wants him as the head coach. If you're talking about Durante. But there are some people who are starting to say, like, man, should they retain Durante? No, they should not. They should go hire a proven defensive coordinator that has had consistent success on the defensive side of the ball in major college football. Danny Braywick, hate the 8 o'clock kick. Me too. Wanted to take my kids, but that's too late. I know. It's going to be for a lot of people, Danny. What's up, Q? Good morning. You all know what we want to hear. How do you choose which bourbon you drink when you have so many good options? Honestly, it really depends on what I'm feeling. The way I kind of describe it, it's like walking into a candy store. What do you want? Do you want Truex? My mom needs a new roof. Is there someone you recommend? You know what to do, Truex. Holler at me. I'm more than happy. I'll email, hit me up directly, Truex. I got you. That's for any of you, by the way. Matt@hudcoroofing.com. I would love to help facilitate, but I'll help you out, Truex. So anyway, to the bourbon question. It's kind of like walking into a candy store. It's like, well, what do you want? Do you want M&Ms? Do you want gummy bears? Do you want Laffy Taffy? Do you want chocolate-covered strawberries? Do you want brownies? Do you want cookies? Do you want ice cream? What kind of cookie? Do you want snickerdoodles? Do you want lemon cookies? Do you want some fudge? You know what I mean? Like, what are you in the mood for that day? That's kind of how it works. And the other great part of it is, like, when people come over to my house, I can offer them anything, you know. My brother-in-law was over here last night. He's kind of gotten into the whole whiskey scene a little bit. And and so we sat on the patio and smoked a cigar, and we had the Kentucky Owl 11-year rye, the batch 2. And that's like my favorite top shelf rye. And So that was really cool. He got to have that for the first time. He was blown away by it, like most are when they have it. So, So Ryan Dixon, would Woody pull the trigger on O'Brien? Not the type of guy to get butts in the seats, make boosters happy recruits, not a sexy hire. Again, I don't know where a lot of that pushback is coming from. And I don't know that I need a sexy hire. I just want someone that I know will build a program and sustain success and win. Tell y'all, I'm hearing way more about Billy Napier. The way I think this will go, and I want to be very clear, and you all know this, when I am giving you information or if I'm giving you an opinion, okay? Here's my opinion. My opinion is if Oklahoma loses another game and they're out of the playoff, I think they make Oklahoma the giant offer, which they have not done yet. The report earlier this week that LSU made him an offer is not true. LSU has not formally offered anybody the job. Have they talked terms with a lot of agents? Sure, that's normal. I think if Oklahoma loses another game and they're, in effect, out of the playoff, I think LSU will make Lincoln Riley that offer, and I think he'll accept it. If you're going to pay someone $12 million a year, you better believe he's going to take it. That's one. If it's no on Lincoln, I bet you they hire Napier. Ben Giat, not a needy white alum, but Walker Howard will be in Thibodeau next week. Might have to check him out. Nah, I would. Walker's a great player, man. Excited about him coming to town. Chris Domingue, not excited about Bill O'Brien. Paul Walston, saw an article this morning saying Mark Stoops is 3 on the list. No, that was Matt Jones, Kentucky Sports Radio, tweeted. He tweeted Jimbo Fisher, Bill O'Brien, Mark Stoops, in that order. I'll tell you what, you got to understand, this is one of the things I tell you a lot about when you try to be breaking news guy, is you have to understand what people's motives are in giving you news or leaking a story. Most everyone has a motive when they go to the media with a story. If my guess would be Mark Stoops' agent told that to Matt Jones. That's my guess. And he said, hey, look, we're talking to LSU. They got Jimbo and Bill O'Brien, and then Mark's number 2. That's probably what happened. I'm guessing, but that's probably what happened there. And so he put it out there, and the agent wants Mark Stoops' name out there because he either wants to get Mark Stoops a better job or trying to get him more money. That's an agent's job, is to make sure that his candidate, his client is constantly mentioned and getting him the best deal possible. So you got to be leery of stuff like that, of when, that's why you cross-check, you double-check, you triple-check things, because if you start hearing the same thing from people all independent of each other, then you know you're onto something. Like the Mark Stoops thing, I've been told Mark Stoops' name by one person, and it came from the agent world. And I know what that is. That's Mark Stoops' agent trying to push his guy's name out there. That's Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen was trying for years to get out of Starkville, and every year you heard his name involved in every coaching search. Why? Because his agent kept pushing his name out there because he was trying to get him out. I'm telling you, the next guy like that is going to be PJ Fleck. Ear to ground, PJ Fleck wants out of Minnesota. He is aching to get out of Minnesota. So you're going to start hearing PJ Fleck's name a bunch for a lot of different jobs because he wants to get out of Minnesota. So just something to be aware of when you get this news. So the reason the Bill O'Brien thing is interesting to me is because I was told Bill O'Brien's name in September. I tweeted it. I've told you all this before. I was told his name in September, literally never heard it again. Not one time did I hear it again until Reese Davis. And then Reese Davis said what he said a couple days ago, and then a couple of other people that I'm close with said, I'm hearing that too. So that smoke is coming from somewhere. And it only makes sense because I heard that name so early in the process. Ryan Dixon, what's up? Matt, you should try Still Austin Whiskey Cask. I'm always down for new stuff. Let's see. Brian and Sarah Thomas, do not try and dress Bill O'Brien as slightly appealing. I mean, I don't have to try. I'm not trying anything. I'm telling you his resume, and his resume is more appealing than you all are making it sound. Let's see. Lamar Stevens, I don't think the doubt of O'Brien is his track record as much as potential to be explosive offensively. I mean, that could be fair. And I wouldn't make a hire to save one recruiting class. Jay Hernandez, what's going on? Josh Delahousse, checked out the boys at the box last night. Hell of a lot of power with this team. Trey Morgan came within inches of the left field scoreboard on an Oppo Taco shot. Wow, it's incredible. Trey Morgan with Oppo Taco power. That's crazy. Reagan Lee, my son started dancing when the jingle came on. I love it. He wants it again. Oh, does he? Okay. Look, I got to do it for the kids, y'all. I got to do it for the kids.
When you need a roof, call someone you know. Scone and Terrio. All you need is hard Call Hardco Roofing. 364-1007.
I had to do it for the kids, y'all. Had to do it for the kids. Let's see. Larry Cavalier, good morning. Blaine Smith, good morning. It's going to be a coach from a school. I'm sure about that. Unless it's a fake football team, ESPN is reporting. Drew Hurst, Kevin Hebert, Blaine Smith. STM will probably win another state championship. They're peaking at the right time. Yeah, good luck to everybody who's playing high school playoffs right now. Randy Dabdoob, Dave Aranda. I mean, I'll put it to you this way. If it comes down to it and they're at this list and like, well, do you hire Dave Aranda? Do you hire Billy Napier? I'd prefer Napier, honestly. It's not a knock on Dave. Napier's been a head coach longer. He's got a way more dynamic personality. I know he will recruit his T. Heine off, and he wants the LSU job badly. That's not to say Dave doesn't want the job or wouldn't take the job, but vastly different personalities and skill sets, and I'd take Napier. Kyle Allen, good morning. Blaine Smith, Crawford versus Porter tonight. I think Crawford KOs Porter around the 9th round. All right. Unfortunately, I will not be watching. My fight game watching ends whenever football starts. It's Napier day today. Jeremy Causey, what's up? Napier or O'Brien? Who would you take? Napier. Blake Betts, what do you think they would pay Napier? In the $4 to $5 million range. Blaine Smith, it's firing season. Going to see more options open up. Anthony Mitchell, what are Bill O'Brien's strengths as a coach? Kind of went through that a little bit. Darren Straub, I know it's off the subject, but any reason why Sharif O'Neal isn't playing injured? Hope they get him back this year. Danny Braywick, does Napier have a specialty? Looked up his stops. Don't think he was ever an OC before being a head coach. It's a great point. His offense has sure have been really good. And I think I would compare him in that respect to... Ooh, sorry, hang on one second, y'all. I would compare him in that respect to, like, I don't want to say this because y'all might take it the wrong way. So Napier is an offensive guy, by the way. He played small school quarterback at, I think, Furman. Like, he was a quarterback in college, so he's an offensive guy. And he was an OC. He was OC with Clemson. It's been a while, but he was young. He was young in his career when he was an OC. And then he was also OC at Arizona State when he was there. And it was only at Arizona State for a year before he got the ULL job. But he has been an OC before. He has called plays. And he's worked with quarterbacks. So that's sort of his specialty. But, the thing was, he's more like he's Saban in that respect, that he'd hire good coaches, and his thing would be this one thing, but more so it's recruiting great players and having good coaches around. I'm gonna tell y'all, man, there may be a lot of people who aren't super high on Napier because of the ULL thing, and I think that would be just very short-sighted. I mean, this dude's been at Clemson, at Bama, at Arizona State, he's been a head coach. He's won as a head coach. He's still a young guy, and man, and maybe I'm a little bit, influenced by this, but I told y'all early in the process I had a friend who is on staff at Alabama, who said, and this, by the way, this is an LSU person, by the way, and said, this person told me, I was talking to some of our coaches and some of our admins, and there are two people that would be a problem for us, meaning Alabama. Said Mel Tucker and Billy Napier, because they're like Saban. They're maniacal workers. They recruit like mad. Like, they would be a problem. Take that for what it's worth. Patrick Kason, that helped me understand why Woodward would hire the ULL coach over somebody like Lane. See, Patrick, that's another sort of, that's a mind block for you. You can't get past the fact that he's at ULL. I just went through it. And honestly, I'd probably prefer Napier over Kiffin. Andrew Brister, every time you turn on the HUD coach jingle, I'm muted. Thanks, noted, Andrew. Thank you. Have a great day. Lance Trahan, you can have some fun too. That's cool. Or you, every time I play it, you can make your snide little comment. Or you can just live life and have a little fun. Lance Trahan or Trahan, do you think they get down the list so far enough for Napier to have a legit shot? I think Napier is legitimately in the conversation now. I do. Where are we? Joseph Fuselier, Matt, you crushed my brain playing the jingle this early. Dex Gonzalez, I think Dre Trosclair needs to be on LSU's radar after his great season with Liberty this year. Not sure who that is, sorry. Is he an assistant? Devin White, good morning. Mario Collada, how about the Bears? Yeah, man. Catholic rally. They were down 28-7 yesterday to St. Aug. Rallied 142-35. Jason Gonzalez, of all the candidates, who would you want? I would say either Lincoln Riley or Billy Napier. I think for me would be my top two. I'd go ahead and say that. Where are we? Kerry Hughes. Every time you play the HUD code jingle, I crank it on the Bluetooth boombox. I love it. Would Napier bring a staff? I'm not sure. Oh, gotcha, Lance. Mentioned Cali. Okay, good to see you, man. Yep. That was a fun trip, dude. I mean, except for the game. Liberty High School, like former Lehigh. Gotcha. All right. Yeah, LSU's not going to hire a high school coach. Jump back over here to YouTube. As always, shout out to Brock, y'all. The Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic. Remember, the after hours clinic is open today. So if you're out there tailgating, you're dancing to the Hudco roofing jingle, and you twist an ankle and you need to go see a doctor, get on over to Brock. Let's see. Tim Gotro, is there an Academy Award of jingles? Hudco roofing should be a nominee. That'd be a Grammy, wouldn't it? Tookie Mello and Daddy TV. Yo, Kiffin checks every box our coach. The guy literally has changed the economy in Oxford. Just imagine the quarterbacks we could get. I'd be down with that. I said it early in the process. I don't know that there are any candidates that I'm like, no. Maybe it's because of the last three at LSU have all won championships. I just believe the list they have. I trust Scott Woodward. He'll find someone who is a good fit culturally that will they'll be able to recruit LSU and win. I mean, I think if they land Jimbo, that's great. If they land Riley, that's great. Many of you don't think so, but I think Bill O'Brien would do just fine here. I think Napier would do well. I think Kiffin would do well. I mean, I think there's a lot of really good candidates there to choose from. P. Will, I know you can't say names. Have you gotten any insights on how many potential transfers could leave this roster? I would mention names. I have no problem with that. How many? No, because I think I think it's one of those things where you wait for the new coach to come in and evaluate the roster and then make those decisions. I mean, remember, you've already got some players in the transfer portal. McCoy Moore already entered the transfer portal. The defensive lineman, blanking. So you've already Miles Brennan's in the transfer portal. So you've already got some players in the portal. Star Hill Stunners, any word on Dabo contacting Darren James? I don't think so, but the new coach should call Darren James because, of course, if you're looking to buy or sell a home, call the realtor that sells more homes than anyone. Call Darren James. Get your home sold. Most people in Alabama want Bill out as OC. I don't really care what Alabama fans want. I don't at all. They're the most disconnected with reality group of people. I do not care at all what they think. Brian Russell, good morning. Paul Jean is a true Napier, needs a roof. Maybe. Stephen Bond, good morning. Brian Russell, don't want O'Brien, Napier, or Campbell. What about Aranda and Browse as OC? Of all of those coaches, by far, Aranda would be the least accomplished. And that's the one you want because you're familiar with him. I'm telling you, the Dave Aranda stuff doesn't make any sense to me. Like, he's only in his second year as a head coach. The same people that pushed back against the possibility of hiring Mel Tucker are okay with Aranda. When Mel Tucker's resume as a coach, his skin's on the wall, dwarfed Dave Aranda's. And people push back against Tucker because he wasn't experienced enough, but you're okay with Aranda? Why, just because he was here at one point? Apollo Balboa, there may be 25,000 fans at the game today. I think it'll be more than that. I think it'll probably be around 60. Joel, I thought you said you haven't heard Napier, and all the chatter was Napier campaigning. Now he's number 2. It would be a massive fail for Woodward. A lot's changed, man. I think as you weed through, and by the way, I didn't say Napier was number 2. I didn't say Napier was number 2. I gave you an opinion. That's a big difference, right? The big difference is when I tell you clearly, Joel, what my opinion is, okay? Benny Latino, if we hire Napier, Campbell, or Aranda, this would be the analogy. Woodward would be the manager, and Barry Bonds is coming to the plate and gets pulled for a Ryan Terriota pinch hit. I'd be okay with Napier. I'd be okay with Campbell, too, actually. Charlie Broussard, I live right off Brightside and I leave my house till like 7. Yeah, it's probably smart. Brad David, are you into Irish whiskey? Not really. However, many people have asked me about that bottle up there, and that is the Fighting 69th Irish whiskey. And portion of every sale, it is good. And a portion of every sale goes to the Fighting 69th Foundation, which supports families of and children of members of the regiment. So, good whiskey and a great cause as well. Derek Cooper is LSU interest in Dave Aranda. I get that all the time. Like I've told you, I just haven't heard Dave's name from anybody that I trust. I'm not saying he wouldn't get consideration, but there's some people who think like he already interviewed. Nobody's been interviewed. I'm very confident saying that no one has been like in-person interviewed. Janet A. My granddaughter enjoyed the jingle as well. Thank you, Janet. Eric Wilder, sweet Jesus, saw the Saints injury report starting to feel like it's not meant to be this year. Oh, yeah, Eric. I mean, look, the best part about this season would be if they're able to make the playoffs, maybe win a game. Joel Napier was fired at the only good job he had. That's not true. I think Clemson improved after Dabo. Yeah, that's not true. Bill Russell, is Cristobal not... Mario Cristobal was never a favorite, Brian. Like, I have never heard Mario Cristobal's name mentioned from anyone affiliated with LSU or that could be considered with that search or anything like that. I literally never heard his name associated with this job, except when fans ask. So I don't know that he was ever considered a favorite for the job. I never heard his name. And if that's who he's going to hire, then that's like a, in your back pocket, pull out of left field hire. And if that's what Woodward has in mind all along, great for him. He's kept that super quiet, but no one has told me that man's name, except when fans ask. So I think it's not right to classify him as a favorite. Zeus Von Raphael, good morning from the Philippines. Tried to buy Game Coin, cannot do it from here, but we'll keep trying. If you have any suggestions, I would appreciate it. So, yeah, Zeus, you'd have to find a decentralized platform where you can buy Binance. So, try crypto.com. If that's blocked in the Philippines, you could try something like KuCoin, KuCoin. You can go to KuCoin and buy Binance, and then move your Binance coin into your Trust wallet, and then you can begin the process of going to PancakeSwap to swap it. Derek Cooper, I think we get Lincoln Riley. Derek, I think if Lincoln loses, I'll say this again, I think if Oklahoma loses again and they're out of the playoffs, I think LSU will make him a gigantic offer, and I think he'll take it. Let's see. You from Napier has no shot to now having a legit shot. That's things evolve. Things evolve. Is it due to LSU being turned down by more top tier coaches, or just a lot of these names were never real possibilities? And I don't think it's early on in this process. I mean, I've told you this. Napier came on my show, right? Napier came on my show because he was stumping hard for the job, okay? And I'll tell you early on, there was no interest from the LSU side in talking to Napier because of the objection many of you have. He's the ULL coach, right? I get it. And despite all of that campaigning, it didn't seem like there was any movement in that direction. I think the sheer volume of people that have been lobbying on his behalf has gotten attention. And it's probably caused Scott to maybe soften a bit or warm a bit to the idea. And if you talk to people that know him, they'll say, man, you interview that guy and you're going to hire him. I think there's a sort of Jay Johnson component there. The young guy, super impressive, detail-oriented, recruits his face off, has a plan, all that sort of stuff. I think there's that component to it. Again, I would not say he's the front runner, and I just gave you my opinion on the matter, which was if Oklahoma loses, I think they make Lincoln a giant offer. I think he takes it, and if not, when you look at the rest of the candidates, I think if Scott Woodward actually conducts an interview with Billy Napier, I think he'll hire him. That's my opinion. It's just an opinion, okay? I'm not reporting anything. I'm not out there reporting anything at all. That's just an opinion. I hope that clarifies a little bit anyway. Dave Vender, good morning. Alley Boy 507. Off topic, I really enjoyed the E-Rock Celebrity Guest Picker segments on Friday. Thank you, Dave. That has gone well. The response to that has been pretty good, so thank you. Star Hill Stunners, Woodward's career is on the line with this hire. He'll make a splash hire. Dabo is lurking. Look, if I were Dabo and LSU offers him $12 million, I'd take that job. Raymond, what would our O and D look like if Napier is hired? Spread offense, 3-4, 4-3 defense. I'd have to look deeper into that. My guess is he'd probably do defensively, would depend on who your coordinator is. But Saban runs odd fronts. He runs 3-4, runs 4-3, and that's where would be Napier's inspiration. I can't tell you I've watched ULL play this year. I can't tell you I've watched him play once, so I wouldn't know. Kay Bergeron, strong feeling Chris Peterson is called to make a comeback. I have a strong feeling that you're wrong. Gulf South, am I nuts to think coaches never interview during the season, or does that actually happen? No, Gulf South, you're right. Coaches do not interview during the season. That is, like, when I hear people say, like somebody said that Dave Aranda interviewed for the job. Okay, absolutely 100% false. Absolutely false. the idea that you think Scott Woodward, like I spelled this out earlier in the week when that started happening. Like, if you think Scott Woodward hopped on a plane and flew to Waco to interview Dave Aranda the week Baylor is playing Oklahoma, and Aranda would not only take time away from his game preparation, but interview for another job during Oklahoma week right under his current employer's nose, like, how stupid would that be? Like, think about that logic, how stupid that sounds. So, no, that's not happening right now. If you ever really want to know how that happens, if you remember this, I'm only giving you this reference because it was documented. When Les got the Kansas job, Bo Mattingly produced a series for ESPN called Miles to Go, if you remember that. And you can probably still find it on demand on ESPN. And I would highly recommend, go watch like the first episode or two. Because, Drew's backpack's beeping. Hang on 1 second. I'll pick up that point. Don't go anywhere. Talk amongst yourselves. Rhode Island's neither road nor high. Okay. Anyway, Jeff Long, who is and I don't care if you like Jeff Long, don't care if you like Les Miles. That's not my point. My point is, in that series, they document Jeff Long going through the process of hiring a coach and how the interviews are done and how in a very short amount of time, like a day or two, he jet sets all over the place to meet this candidate and that candidate, this, right? And it happens very quickly like that. But that's how that happens, not during the middle of a season, an AD flies into, and most of the time, honestly, actually, Skip Bertman has gone on the record saying this. So I don't, because he's conducted football coaching searches, obviously he's an athletic director. He said, generally it's not even the athletic director making contact because that's seen as sort of running afoul, right? If the AD is making contact with a coach during the season without permission. So normally the AD doesn't even make contact with the agent. Usually the AD has someone work on their behalf to contact the agent. So it's like, and again, Skip Bertman has said this on the record. So I'm just sort of speaking it through his eyes. Normally the AD would have someone close to him or her call the agent and say, I'm calling on behalf of so-and-so. Would Coach X be interested in discussing this job? And then you gauge interest, right? And then you have those conversations with the intermediaries about numbers and what it might look like, and if you proceed any further, right? I mean, that's kind of how that works. So I'm really pushing back because this idea that Scott Woodward's flying all over the place interviewing these coaches on game week is just dumb. Let's see. Scott Woodward gets Riley and Caleb Williams. That splash ball splashes. I would agree. And I don't know that there's any guarantee Caleb Williams would follow Lincoln Riley here. But, I mean, LSU was in Caleb Williams' Final Three. I mean, that's exciting to think about. Survive 623. What's the latest rumor? Please tell me O'Brien isn't legit. I don't know why, but I am surprised by how much pushback the O'Brien idea gets. I guess I just go blind resume, and I'm like, coached under Belichick with the Patriots, worked with Tom Brady, was the head coach at Penn State, was National Coach of the Year there, was the head coach of the Houston Texans, won 4 division titles, and now he's at Alabama under Nick Saban. And he's been a major college OC and head coach, an NFL OC and head coach. He's worked under the greatest NFL coach and greatest college coach of all time. Like, there's a lot that I go, blind resume, that looks pretty good. Does the money make Napier look better since he costs less? I don't think so, Gulf South. That's a good question, but I don't think so. Scott's got the money to whatever he needs to spend, man. He's said this when Scott was hired. He knows the right people and who to call to get done what he needs to get done, and that's just not going to be a hang up. After watching O destroy the program at LSU and seeing O'Brien destroy the Texans make me not want him. Players went out because of him. You know what, Troy? But I will say this. When you listen to players that played under Saban with the Dolphins, they say similar things. And there is a difference between being an NFL coach and a college coach. The way you're managing personalities at the college level as opposed to the pro level is undeniably different. So while I understand that point, I also think less of it at the college level. By the way, smash that like button, please. 118 watching on YouTube, only 53 likes. 79 hanging out there on Facebook. We appreciate y'all. Please like the page, share the post. Like the page, share the post. Appreciate y'all for being there. Let's see. Dustin Cruel, what's up? Kyle Acock, morning, Matt. No thoughts on the coaching search. Loving the basketball team. Yeah, man. Strong agreement here. Louis Malhoy, has Coach Tucker signed his contract? If not, he's waiting next Saturday to get a call. No, Louis, and he did comment this week on the record saying, that Michigan State's a destination job. And I've told y'all before that my understanding is that while Tucker was favored by some within the LSU administration, he was never really Scott Woodward's choice. And I think it was made pretty clear early that Tucker could leverage the interest from LSU to get a good deal for himself, which he did. So good for him. Kelly Gross, good morning. Kyle Taylor, morning, Matt. Tuning in from North Carolina. I think we should row the boat. Yeah, that's not going to happen. That'd be PJ Fleck, but that's not going to happen. Darren Straub. Mikey Romero, LSU baseball commits. Father just got diagnosed with cancer. Oh, that sucks. We have a GoFundMe if anyone wants to donate. Man, prayers to that family. Lance, do you think if Nussmeier would have won the game last week, would he still be redshirting this year? Would he be an option this week? No, I agree with you. I think had they won and he played really well, I think he'd be starting, but he didn't. And it's just, I kind of shake my head because that decision by Ogeron probably cost LSU a chance to go into a bowl game. If they'd stuck with Max Johnson, you probably win that game. It's not to say Nuss lost the game for him, but he did have some costly turnovers. So, if you stuck with the guy who'd been your guy all year, you probably win that game, and then you win today and you're going to a bowl. Instead, you're probably going to win today and lose next week and finish 5-7. Peter Adams, if Edo had his current record at another school, you think there'd be movement to get him to LSU now? You mean like if he'd won a national championship and then completely fallen off the next 2 years? No, because we've seen that, right? I mean, look at Larry Coker, look at Gene Chizik, and look at what's going to happen with Ogeron. Ogeron's not getting another head coaching job. Who's going to hire him? I mean, Les Miles had won a championship, eroded a bit. The best job he could get was Kansas. Who's going to hire Ogeron? As a head coach, I mean. Danny Brewery, people who don't want the ULL coach don't realize he's already turned down other SEC jobs. That's true, Danny. Billy Napier has turned down Mississippi State, South Carolina, Auburn, Tennessee, and he's also turned down Baylor. I mean, he knows he can pick a spot. Darren Perret, nothing like listening to Morning Scone and reading these dipshits on Go247. I don't know what they're saying. I don't read message boards, but that's pretty fun to read it. Lance, people who think a coach has already been interviewed during the season is ridiculous. No quality coach would do that. True. And no coach has been hired, and there is no formal offer either. Sean Berthelot, I'd rather hire Napier and find out he'd work out or not as LSU's coach than not hire him and find out he's going to have to work at another SEC school and LSU have to deal with him for 20 years. I'll tell you this. I know it's not an SEC school, but I've been told TCU and Virginia Tech would both have Napier at or near the top of their list. Would he take one of those jobs? I don't know. Emil Buddy Ray, O'Brien was a good coach, terrible GM. I agree with that. Lamar Stevens, Mark Richt. No, that's not going to happen. Truett, Glass, does Kiffin Ogeron love affair finally get back together at Miami? That would be interesting. I got a call. Late September, maybe early October, about it was about Lane Kiffin, and the thought was then very, very heavy that Lane Kiffin was going to get the Miami job. And you've sort of seen that now, right? Like some of the boosters have come out. Nevin Shapiro came out and said Kiffin's at the top of the list, whatever. I don't know if he would leave Ole Miss for Miami, maybe, but he's spent time in South Florida when he was at FAU and whatever. But the call I got was really like everyone thought Kiffin was going to take the Miami job, but here and there was interest from LSU. And that's what I told you. Lane was one of the first names I heard in connection with the LSU job months ago. But also kind of have reason to believe that Lane would be a no for Woodward. But if he does get past Fisher, Riley, that sort of thing, how do you sort out the jumble of the next group of 4 or 5 candidates, right? If it's Lane or Matt Campbell, or a lot of y'all mentioned Dave Aranda, Napier, whatever that looks like. Bill O'Brien, if that's, whatever. It'd be interesting to see. Lamar Stevens, what's up? Steve Colson, orange is your color. Like that orange Celebrate bottle, right, Steve? How about it, bro? Or like Hudco Roofing. This is my New York City Marathon shirt. I ran, I conquered. My finisher shirt from the 2006 New York City Marathon. How about you, boy? Let's see that plaque up there. If you can see that, I got a plaque up there. Can y'all see it? It's my finisher plaque right there. This was Marine Corps Marathon. This was New York City Marathon. Let's see. Brian Matthews, good morning from Oklahoma. Rob Cooksey, morning, Matt. Of the candidates out there, who do you like most to be the next LSU coach? I mean, of the ones that have been mentioned, personally, my top would be Jimbo. I do not think that happens. So I think Lincoln Riley would be awesome. I think that would fit the mold of a Scott Woodward hire, big splash hire. Can recruit and develop quarterbacks. 38 years old. The downside to Lincoln is his defenses at OU haven't been very good. I don't know if they would improve here, and he wants to be an NFL coach, from what I understand. So you'd probably lose him at some point to the NFL. But I don't think you hire someone or make a decision on whether to hire or not to hire someone based on the fear of losing them. Chase James, think O goes to work under Saban. I believe he's been offered a job to work for Nick Saban. I do not believe he'll coach next season. But the following season, I think there's a real possibility. Sean S., Lane Kiffin would hire Coach O on his staff. I think that's a possibility. Terrell, but not at Ole Miss. I don't think Ed would go back to Ole Miss. Terrell Guidry, good morning, Matt. Matt Campbell's the best choice for LSU. Look at his coaching career. Campbell's turned down 2 NFL jobs. I agree on Campbell. I think he's a really good coach. The one thing I've heard about Matt Campbell, as his name has popped up a little bit, Matt Campbell does not seem to be a guy that wants to go roll up his sleeves and get into like recruiting battles for 5 stars. And I'm going to tell you, if that's your MO, you can't win at LSU. You've got to go toe-to-toe with Bama and Georgia and A&M and go win some of those 5-star battles. And if he's not interested in doing that, that's a problem. Joel Cunningham, we really care about who Napier may have turned down. Amazing how low our standards have fallen. Yeah, Joel, that's sort of not a smart comment, because it does matter when that many Power 5 programs keep coming to a point where they're interested in this candidate, and he keeps saying no because he has the leverage to hold out for something better. Like, there's something to that. I mean, it's the same thing with. I would say it's similar to when Chris Peterson was at Boise. I mean, Chris Peterson turned down everybody. Turned down USC. So when Scott finally pulled him out of Boise and got him to Washington, that was a massive deal. Similar. Kenneth Martin, epic failure if he hires Bill O'Brien. Our rookie DC outcoached him, and Bama's offense isn't that good this year. His coaching personality works up north, but not down here. He'll bolt to the NFL. Yeah, Kenneth, I don't think he's going to get another NFL head coaching job. I think that's a guy that probably his personality works better in the college game. Excuse me. Dat Cajun. Think about that. Napier has turned down Baylor before they got Aranda, and people want Aranda over Napier. Aranda wasn't the higher choice for Baylor. Why should he be here for LSU? I'll tell you that Napier was offered that Baylor job when Baylor was in the Sugar Bowl. So is when Dave got it. So that 2019 Baylor team that went to the Sugar Bowl, but as I understand it, he turned it down because they were expecting to go on probation. Make sure I have my year right, because it would make more sense. Okay, yeah, here it is. So in this year of August, Baylor got hit with 4 years of probation and a fine, and they'll have recruiting restrictions because of the sex assault scandal. So that's basically Napier was going to accept the Baylor job in 2019. Had accepted it actually, and then the way that I was told the story is they met in New Orleans when Baylor was there to play the Sugar Bowl. They offered the job to Napier. He accepted, and then they were like, "Now we have to tell you something. We're expected to go on probation." ... And that's when Billy was like, "Well, not knowing what it's all going to be, he decided against taking the job." But they got probation. They got 4 years of probation. They ended up getting 4 years of probation, but avoided major punishment. Otherwise, he'd be the Baylor coach and not Aranda. Star Hill Stunner's not sure why Tate has any say in this hire. He's not paying the salary. Woodward will make the right decision. I think Woodward is making the hire. I don't think it's Tate. I think Tate wanted Mel Tucker, and Woodward won that battle. Kiffin is putting his name out there for all open jobs. How do you think bosses at Ole Miss feel hearing about these rumors? Hey, you got to remember, man, Lane's agent is Jimmy Sexton, and a good agent's job is to make sure that their candidate is a hot name, is in the mix for a lot of things. So you constantly, stay on people's radar, and you keep getting better deals for your client. That's why. That's what Jimmy Sexton does. So, good for him. Leonard Sarasota, Tom Herman, a dark horse option. Looking back at the job he did at Texas, may have been better than given credit for. Hey, look, Leonard, anytime I'm going to talk about Tom Herman, people are always going to roll their eyes because Tom Herman was the number one choice for LSU back in 2016, and I was bullish on him. And because he got fired at Texas, people look at that as a failure. But when people actually go back and look at his record, he went 7-6, 10-4, 8-5, and then last year in the COVID year he was 7-3. He got fired after going 7-3 in the COVID year, y'all. He was 7-3 in the COVID year. He got fired. He was 32-18. It's not great, but he won a Sugar Bowl. Went to bowl game all 4 years. Won their bowl game all 4 years. His worst year was his first when they went 7-6, and then year 2 they won the Sugar Bowl. The third year was probably the disappointing year, right? 2019, year they lost to LSU. They went 8-5, and then last year went 7-3. But you get a new AD, once a different coach, it happens. Do you think Jimbo turns down $12 million a year? Yeah, I think Jimbo's staying at A&M. I do. I'd say at Ole Miss, Miami seems like a dead-end job. They have history. I don't see them ever being great again. The right person could get it rolling again if you can get players there. I mean, Florida, especially South Florida, is so talent-rich that if you can get the players there to stay there, you can win at a high level again. But the resources at Miami are what's bad. I mean, Mark Richt had to fight so hard to get an indoor facility and a football ops center. Just Miami, despite being a private school, this hasn't committed the resources to that program to be great. Jimbo Houdat, if we hire Bill O'Brien or Mark Stoops over Aranda, I'm done with LSU. Okay. I'm sure there'll still be 100,000 people going to the games, and my guess is you'd still watch too. Let's see. Due to Rick's 12, I think Woodward has his Jay Johnson, a coach no one is talking about Brent Venables. That is not the case at all. Remember, Jay Johnson was a successful head coach. I will guarantee you that Scott Woodward will not hire a candidate who has no head coaching experience. So Brent Venables is not even a remote possibility in this discussion. Let's be real. The only job comparable to LSU is Auburn. The only reason he turned it down was because admin's forcing assistance on him. That's irrelevant. If it's comparable, you're still talking about turning down SEC jobs because he can't hold out for something better. It's not about what's comparable. That sort of speaks to LSU, how rare of a place it is. When will interviews actually start? When season ends? When coaches aren't preparing for a game? That's what I'm telling you. Like, as soon as the season ends, like, I'll give you an example. The Tom Herman thing, right? They had an agreement in principle in place. LSU played A&M on Thanksgiving. University of Houston was playing in Memphis Friday morning, Black Friday morning. Joe Oliva was flying to Houston Saturday morning to meet Tom Herman. They were supposed to meet in a hotel, have their in-person interview, and then he would be formally offered the job, sign his contract, fly here and be introduced. On Thanksgiving night, when the report broke that Tom Herman was going to take the LSU job, from a Texas website, by the way. I mean, that was Trace Armstrong leaking that to a Texas website, essentially to say, hey, this is about to happen. If y'all are serious, make a decision on Charlie Strong. So they fired Charlie Strong. And then Trace went back to LSU, said, Tom's going to listen to Texas. And Oliva said, bleep you, I got my guy. And then he hired Ogeron the next day. If we hired Napier, the notion we had 8 figures a year to pay is a total farce. That's not true. They have the money to pay. Like, Joel, I don't understand why this is so hard for you to understand. Like, I understand, like, you may have a favorite. Any fan may have a favorite. But, like, if you actually think this isn't logically hard to understand, LSU's paying the old staff collectively $26 million to go away. You don't think Scott Woodward has the phone, like the people he can call to get that money put together? Come on, man. You're going to pay $26 million to get the other stuff to go away, and then you're fudging about if you have money for a new contract? Sometimes it does amaze me how much fans, and I don't mean this to be disrespectful, some of y'all will take it that way, but how much you think you know that you actually don't know. Like, it's not that, like, it's a bad thing that you don't know, but it's that you think you know something that you have no idea about, which things like this generally expose that, which I always shake my head when I see stuff like that. Anyway. Travis Roy, who or what has swayed your feelings toward a coaching candidate? You've swayed mine several times from originally wanting Kiffin to Franklin to Tucker to Riley. Now I'm on Napier. Travis, the thing that I've been consistent from the very beginning is said I am far less stressed or emotional about this hire than in 2016. Because watching LSU win another title in 2019, knowing how incompetent a head coach Ed Ogeron is, has given me a lot of confidence that I just believe Scott Woodward knows what he's looking for. And then we've also seen Scott hire Kim Mulkey, landed his moonshot, and then Jay Johnson, who is crushing it. So there's a resume there that suggests this athletic director knows what he's looking for in a candidate, and he's very good at getting these deals done. So, I mean, to your point, like, I think all of those coaches could do exceptionally well here. I think Lane Kiffin is a brilliant play caller, and if they hired him here, I think it would be a great lure for quarterbacks and offensive skill people. I think he could win here. James Franklin, I think, guy won at Vanderbilt. He knows the ropes in the SEC. He's been in major college football. I think he could win here. That's not going to happen, obviously, but Mel Tucker, same. What I've been told, maniacal worker, great recruiter, is NFL coordinator and college coordinator experience. He's been a head coach at 2 different places at the college level. He was interim head coach with the Jaguars in the NFL, so he's got NFL experience. Like, there's a lot to like there. Lincoln Riley, we all know the story there. Offense, guru, quarterback, whatever. And then we talked about Napier. I guess my point is, like, that's a good group of candidates. Like, wherever they land, I think it's going to be okay, you know? So I don't think necessarily, so Travis Roy said, who or what has swayed your feelings? I don't know that anybody has, or anything has swayed my feelings. I just think that when you actually look at resumes, I think all those guys would do exceptionally well. I mean, I just, like, and they're all guys that have been successful head coaches. That's the thing that I pushed back on so much when they hired Ed was, you're LSU. You don't need to hire a guy that's never proven he can be a successful head coach. And that's what they did. Because look at where you are now. Ed had a lot of on-the-job training. And I've always maintained LSU's not a learn-on-the-job type place. Like, you have the resources to hire the best, so hire proven coaches that don't need to learn on the job, you know? Travis Bushnell, if they get a second-tier candidate, I'd rather Napier. Why not hire someone who you know wants the job, would work their butt off, other than throwing money at someone to take it? Yeah, Travis, I don't know necessarily that it's throwing money at someone to take it, because I think anybody who gets that job, like, you would hire, would work their butt off. Does that make sense? Like, I don't think you'd hire someone who would just be taking the job because you threw a bunch of money at them and wouldn't work as a result. But I do understand your point. Darren Straw. He literally came out and said, I'm waiting to see who blank is going to hire before I make any decisions on job offers. Like, you can't be any more hungrier than that. Jeremy Kling, what's up? Brandon English, word on Calandro's rare whiskey. How about that? A whiskey question. I love it. Yeah, so it's December the 9th. I believe that date is right. It's a Thursday. And I believe it's going to be virtual again this year, Brandon. So we'll do it from the 104.5 ESPN studio like we did last year. And should be a lot of fun, man. Really looking forward to it. As always, y'all shout out to Brock, Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic. After hours clinics open today, all the subspecialties. My mom twisted her knee when she was going to Kansas to see my sister. Got back, went and saw Dr. Rodriguez over at Brock. All is well, thankfully, for Mama Scone. But no matter what issue you have, they have all the subspecialties at Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic. And of course, HUDCO Roofing, HUDCOroofing.com. We are jamming, y'all. I know I've mentioned this a bunch, but there's a lot of people who, you still got the blue tarp. Maybe you're waiting on insurance, or maybe you even have your scope of work, got a check from insurance, but you can't get a roofer to get to you before the new year. We're working way quicker than that, man. We have materials, we have crews, and we are ready to jam. So if you're looking for a roof replacement post-Hurricane Ida, give us a shout, HUDCOroofing.com, HUDCOroofing.com. Just fill out the contact form, HUDCOroofing.com. We'll get right to you. Let's see. Shane O'Mac. Everyone assumed Joe Brady would get an NFL head coaching job. Who's to say Woodward wouldn't offer him the LSU job? Joe Brady's not getting the LSU job. Matt Lusto. I want Aranda and Kendall Briles. I think the offensive minds are becoming more ubiquitous. So I want a guy creative enough to stop the up-and-comers. Well, there's no guarantee that you could get Kendall Briles away from Nebraska. Or Arkansas, excuse me. And what's to say Kendall Briles wouldn't become a head coach? And so then who do you get after you hire Kendall Briles? You know what I mean? That becomes... So my contention is that it's more difficult to find someone who can recruit and develop quarterbacks consistently. And if you find that guy, you can find the good defensive coordinator to coach the talent that LSU recruits. Matt, who would waste their trying to fight for first to come to ISU? They will never go to ISU. No. You're missing the point, Terrell. So you're talking about Matt Campbell. That's one of the reasons he stayed at Iowa State. Not because he knows he's not going to have to fight those battles at Iowa State. He would rather recruit the 3 stars, the JUCOs, the 2 stars, and coach them up at Iowa State instead of having to get into the muck and fight for 5 stars, which you have to do to win at a place like LSU. Does that make sense? Maybe I didn't explain that well. The thing was, I've been told Matt Campbell doesn't necessarily want to get in the recruiting battles for 5-star athletes, which you have to do at LSU. That was my point. Good question, Troy. Will Landon Young or Jordan Mills start right tackle for the Saints? I guess Jordan Mills, veteran guy. How many of the injuries the draft eligible players have are real? All of them. I actually really push back against the notion that guys are just sitting out. I mean, Derek Stingley's in a walking boot. Elias Ricks is having shoulder surgery. Anyway. Brian Thorgerson, Ogeron getting paid through 2025. Yeah, good for him. Gulf South been fired after 7-3. People say LSU has unreal expectations. Are you talking about Herman yet? It's just that's what the perception became. He got fired, so he sucked. He actually won a lot of games there. It's just Texas is Texas, but whatever. Tommy Howard, Kiffin could go to Miami, go 9-3. Everyone would be perfectly content. I'd be interested in that. I don't really know what the expectations are there at Miami. I mean, they've been down for so long. Maybe 9-3 would be welcomed. I remember Mark Richt had some success there early. I think there was one year where he started 10-0 and then lost the last 2, lost the conference championship game, lost the bowl game. So they finished like 10-4, if I'm not mistaken. Started 10-0 and then lost like 4 in a row. Any chance of doing whiskey and wine at halftime? And said, no, Bob, we're not going to do that. Joel Cunningham, what happened to Jamie Chadwell? From Coastal. It's Chadwick, I think. Chadwell. Hey. No? I told you he was going to sleep a long time. I mean, he was up until... I told you every day when I wake him up at 8, I gotta wake him up. So especially he stayed up late. Jerusalem. Jamie Chadwell. I don't know that Jamie Chadwell was ever in the mix for this. Something I was told earlier was like if they got way down the list, he'd be, they'd consider him over someone like Napier. But that was early in the process, And like I told you, man, Napier has had his people pounding the streets, man. They have pounded the streets. Yeah, Chadwell, not Caldwell. Billy Napier over Bill O'Brien. Fine with that, Marcus. Drew Nicholas, checking out your whiskey. Been looking for Old Elk. Can you describe the taste of Old Elk? Also, what's the difference in the different Wellers? So there's a lot of different Old Elks too. So there's their straight bourbon whiskey. They have a rye. They have the wheat whiskey. They have the wheated bourbon. So they all have different expressions. My favorite is the wheat whiskey, if you can find it. I just really enjoy wheat whiskey, which tends to be softer and sweeter. And then the Wellers, so the difference in them is proof and flavor profile. So the green label Weller is Special Reserve. That's the most common one you can find. The black label is Weller 12, which is aged 12 years. It's basically Lot B. It's Van Winkle 12 year that they determine isn't Van Winkle quality, so they bottle it as Weller 12. It's my favorite. The red label is the Weller 107, which is 107 proof, so it's a little hotter. CYPB is Create Your Perfect Bourbon, which was sort of like a fan-inspired, voted upon whiskey, and that's a lot of people's favorite, is the CYPB. The blue label is full proof. That's too hot for me. It's just, I don't like full proof whiskey generally. And then the orange label is the single barrel, which is another really good one. They're all really good. Imagine if ULM beats LSU. God, I don't want to. Let's see, Joel never suggested I knew anything other than this is a failed search for whatever reason if we're talking about Napier. And I think that's a stupid comment, Joel. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's had major college interest. That is a hot name that you just can't get over because he's at ULL. Like that is your only objection, is he coaches ULL, so you can't get past that. What is the best price bourbon to get started on, not named Maker's Mark? Yeah, I would not say Maker's Mark is the best price to start on. Like, Maker's Mark's okay. It's pretty good, but I would tell you, like my starter kit I tell people is get Basil Hayden. These are all under $30. Get Basil Hayden, which is a lower proof, a little smoother, easier to drink. Get Elijah Craig Small Batch, which is big, bold flavor. I love it. $27, one of my favorite whiskeys. And then get Sazerac Rye. So you get a rye in the mix. You get 3 different flavor profiles, all under $30, and you can kind of learn what you like. Let's see, Gulf South. Breaking news, my cobbler just told me, Woodward told him he has Ryan Day in his back pocket. It'll be announced on Thanksgiving. Your cobbler. It's just funny you use the word cobbler. Let's see. Tommy Howard. Just because you have the money doesn't mean people are going to come. He's talking to Julia. Bill O'Brien is the only coach I'm against. Lincoln, Kiffin, Aranda, Napier. I think LSU thrives with any of them. But keep telling y'all, like, and I'm not saying Dave won't get the job. I've literally only heard that from fans. I mean, nobody I would consider credible with any information on this search has told me Dave Aranda's name. Nobody. It's not to say they don't get down the list and he becomes a person of interest, but nobody has mentioned that to me. Earl Morgan, morning, Matt. I appreciate you don't say things just to say things. You got it, man. Kyle Brister, I'd rather Napier than O'Brien. I'd be fine with that. Terrell Guidry, Matt, have the Arturo Fuente Lost City cigar Don Juan Sniper whiskey? Well, they always have, Terrell, I could buy one to get, but they always give us a featured cigar that they want us to discuss on the show. So that whatever we smoke is the one that they want us to promote that day. But I'll pick one up when I'm there. I mean, y'all are all talking about Napier. I would love it to be Napier just so I can play the Hanny drop all the time. Speaking English, I'm not pushing Napier. That'd be so good. Uh, Kyle Brister, there will be two new great coaches just a little above everyone else over the next 20 years in college. Aranda and Napier lose out on both, and LSU fans regret the next 2 decades. I disagree with that, Kyle. I mean, it's not to say those two won't do well, but I mean, come on, man. There's tons of great coaches, and there could be great coaches that end up in bad situations that don't do well, and mediocre coaches that end up in great situations that do well. And I just don't believe that it's that. What would Terry say? I don't believe it's that digital. Brian Thorgus and Dave Clawson. No, I think Dave Clawson's going to be in the mix at Virginia Tech. Dave Clawson's the Wake Forest head coach. I think he'll be in the mix at Virginia Tech. Is there any coaching hire that would make Arch Manning consider LSU? Maybe. I mean, if Arch Manning had to pick a school today, he'd be going to Texas. Texas, Clemson, Bama, I think are his three. Ole Miss is on the list just because their family ties to Ole Miss. But I've been told in no uncertain terms that Arch Manning will not go play for Lane Kiffin. And yeah, but that's all I have to say about that. Let's see. You think Napier would take the OC job at LSU, get his foot in the door? Absolutely not, Robert. I mean, I understand why you'd ask the question, but absolutely not. He's a head coach, and he's turned down major Power 5 head coaching jobs, and he will jump to a Power 5 head coaching job, be it LSU or somewhere else. I do believe this is Napier's last year at ULL. I think, like I've mentioned, I've heard he has interest in Virginia Tech. I know TCU has him at or near the top of their list. If Miami is likely going to come open, I mean, there are spots where he'll jump into the Power 5 this year. Let's see. Reese Davis mentioned O'Brien to LSU, so Bama can get rid of him. He doesn't want LSU to be a big-time name head coach like Riley, so the Tigers don't beat Bama every year. Yeah, that's not really a smart comment. Well, you do have laughing emoji, so I'm guessing you're just joking. Kyle Brister, they're both in love and obsessed with coaching and how to innovate everything but their professions, about their professions. So they have that Belichick-Saban thought process going. Game Day said Washington has an interest in Aranda. That would be interesting. I'll tell you one to keep an eye on, y'all. Is Aranda at USC. West Coast guy, would get him back out west. I've heard that rumbling there. I think USC had James Franklin at the top of their list. I think Franklin's staying at Penn State, plus the season they're having, his stars dimmed a little. They're going to push hard for Luke Fickell, but my understanding is Luke Fickell wants to remain in the Midwest and hold out for like a Big Ten job if Ohio State or Michigan, Notre Dame ever came open. Aranda, USC. Keep an eye on that. Who is the best man for the job and why is it Billy Napier? I think Napier would do well. I think he would do just fine. I think many of the candidates we've mentioned would do just fine. Why is an assistant off the table completely when both OU and Ohio State hired assistants and they're great? I don't know, and I don't really care what they did. Gulf South. I'm just telling you, they're not going to hire someone who does not have head coaching experience. And remember, Ryan Day, I believe Ryan Day was the interim in that season when Urban was out. They went 6-6. Or was that Fickell? Maybe it was Fickell who was the interim that year. It was Fickell, wasn't it? Ryan Day was the interim for 3 games in 2018. That was it. So he was the interim. But Fickell was the interim in the year they went 6-6. But that was also a situation where they had their guy handpicked, like at Ole Miss, where if Lane leaves, they're going to promote Jeff Levy, the OC. He'll be their head coach. Some of those situations are like that. You know, Bob Stoops, the other thing about Oklahoma you got to remember is Bob Stoops left, like, Bob Stoops retired like late spring, summer. It was like maybe summer. It was right before the season. And so it wasn't like he go start a super giant coaching search. I think Bob did that because he wanted Lincoln to get that job. And if I'm not mistaken, Lincoln Riley was running these. He was at some small school where he blew up offensively. East Carolina, that was it. That was that sort of era where those young offensive guys at smaller schools, you know, running these wide open offenses started blowing up. If LSU doesn't hire Napier, Florida will and make LSU regret it for a generation. I think there is some validity to the fact that Florida would hire Napier if they do fire Mullen. Mullen, though, that depends what happens these next 2 weeks. My understanding is that if Florida loses these next 2 weeks, Mullen's gone. If they split these next two, it's really iffy. If he wins the next two, he stays. So, a lot on the line for Florida the next 2 weeks. And I do believe, I have heard that Florida would be interested in Napier. Jason Trump, y'all get ready for 8-year, $96 million Lincoln Riley to LSU market. It's funny, you got 8 years, $96 million from J-Boy, and I gave you the 8-year, $100 million contract number a month ago. Whatever. Any of y'all looking for a job? KO's uncle is hiring at Tiger Tracks in Opelousas. A lot of people are hiring. Let's see. Napier once killed 2 stones with 1 bird. All right, y'all jump the shark down. Kevin Sparks, anyone who says or thinks they know anything about the coaching search doesn't. That's kind of stupid. Because you do realize, like, I'll say this again, Kevin. That's a very lazy thing for fans to say when they want to act like they know something they don't. But here's what I'll tell you, Kevin. Scott Woodward does not talk. He has an inner circle that's Scott, Stephanie, Verge, and there's one other person that I'm very confident saying is intimately involved in all those conversations because it's the person representing LSU in conversations with agents. And I know who it is, but I'm not going to say it out of respect for that search. Those 4 people. Scott may not say anything. And none of those 4 people may say much. But anytime you have a phone conversation, there's someone on the other end of the line. And you can never be assured that the person on the other end of the line doesn't say things. So, yes, it is very possible to get information. But like I said, the important thing, which most people in the internet age don't do when it comes to trying to share news, is they don't vet sources properly and don't multi-source reports. Like, I'm not picking on J-Boy because I like Jake, but when Jake Crane put out that Lincoln Riley was offered 8 years, $96 million, like, he's wrong. I'm not saying that LSU won't make an offer to Lincoln Riley, but no formal offer has been made. That's bad information. But I guarantee you he got that from one source. And it was most likely an agent that floated it to him. And he probably thought, oh, an agent gave me this. Got to be right. Boom. And you have to consider what that person's motive is for sharing that info. And you never know, which is why you hear something and then you call 3 other people and say, hey, what are you hearing about this? And if all of it starts piecing the puzzle pieces together, then you know you're onto something. when multiple people independent of each other are saying the same thing. So yes, there are plenty of ways to find out information. What I think is crazy is when people are looking at flight trackers and assuming a plane going from Norman to Baton, and then you make assumptions, right? Oh, a flight went from Norman to Baton Rouge. It must be the coaching. No, it's the guy that owns all the Cracker Barrels whose kid goes to OU, who has his own plane. He just flew up. Anyway. Let's see. Would you rather Fickle or Riley? I'd rather Lincoln Riley. Honestly. I heard Napier goes duck hunting with only duct tape. Let's see. Breaking My Blacksmith told me while making Woodward a chest shield. He told Mike Tomlin is indeed his pick and will be announced Christmas Eve. Okay. We have Jumped the Shark. Marcus asked about Eric. We put the enemy, Eric B. Enemy. I'm sure that's just autocorrect. No, I've not heard Eric B. Enemy's name. I hope Eric B. Enemy becomes an NFL head coach. I'm surprised he hasn't already. Anyway. Matt, do you think this team can compete next year regardless of who gets the job? I do, provided that the sophomores return. Like if your junior class next year is Ricks, Butte, Jaquelin Roy, BJ Ojolari, Max Johnson, Jay Ward. You know what I mean? If your juniors, the core, the upperclassmen on your team are those guys, yeah, man, that's a great starting point. And you look at all the freshmen that have got a ton of experience this year, I think you have a great roster that any coach coming in could supplement with the transfer portal. And I do think that you could be back in a New Year's Six mix next year. No. He was up till like 11 o'clock last night. Just let him sleep. All right, y'all, I think we're just about done. The source is Jim Bernhardt, misspelled, by the way. On the plane with Lincoln Riley on the flight to LSU for 3 hours. Yeah, it's not a 3-hour flight from Norman to Baton Rouge, by the way. Oh, it's so stupid. All right, we've officially jumped the shark. I've said that now 3 times. I'm done. Brock, Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, they're tagged in the post on Facebook. And, of course, Hudco Roofing and HudcoRoofing.com. Do business with someone you know, Hudco Roofing. If you know someone, think about this for me. I want you to do me this solid today. I want you to do me this solid. Spend an hour and a half of a Saturday morning hanging out with y'all. But I appreciate y'all hanging out with me, honestly, so it's not like that was a challenge. That's not a good thing to say. I'm going to paste the Hudco link. If you know someone who needs a roof replacement or needs a roof inspection, send them the Hudco link. Hit the Contact Us Now form on the homepage. And let's get some roofs, y'all. Appreciate it greatly. Y'all have an awesome day. I'll be live with Jeremy Hill at 3 o'clock for Eagle 98.1 game day. So we'll look forward to seeing you there. And then Whiskey and Wine as soon as the game goes final. Y'all have an awesome day. Peace.